Zero Hour is a tactical first-person shooter. It was released in 2020 and came out of early access 4 years later. It is being developed by Atrito and M7 Productions. Gameplay takes place in a variety of fictional locations set in Bangladesh, as that is a country where the developers are from. The game can be played in two ways. You can play either co-op, where you go in alone or with your friends to defeat enemy AI and complete various objectives. Or you can play PvP in multiplayer and go up against other players in modes such as Team Deathmatch or Bomb Defusal, as in games like Rainbow Six. What I appreciate about this game is that when you're going in solo, you can take friendly AI along with you so that you don't have to be playing on your own, but unfortunately I have to say the friendly AI is not very good, not very smart. They mostly hesitate to shoot at anything. Sometimes they do, but they're not the best, and they struggle to, for example, vault over things. So if you make even a small vault, they can't follow you along. They're just gonna go all the way around or stay in one place. Yeah, that's not great. However, the reason I'm still glad that they're around is because if you are playing solo and you die, you can actually respawn as one of your friendly AI bots, so that way you get to keep playing and don't have to start over. This game features many maps to play on, which are very different from each other, but mostly they focus on close quarter combat. And also, in this game you can customize your weapons, of which there are many, and your operator. Something that I think is unique to this game is the fact that you can take along a canine, so a dog, with you to go into co-op missions with you and either find enemies for you or incapacitate them for you so you can take them out. What adds to the tactical element of this game is that before you go in to any operation, you get access to a planning table where you can see the layout of the map, each floor, and where potential objectives may be located. For example, on the planning table, you can see where the breaker switch is located. If you disable this switch, it causes a complete blackout of the building that you're infiltrating. This is going to give you an advantage as an attacker because you have access to night vision goggles and tactical flashlights, whereas the defending team, they only have access to flashlights and flares. Now, the way you progress in this game, in co-op, is that you get a score at the end of every operation that you finish. So there is actually a set of rules, the rules of engagement, where, for example, you are to withdraw from friendly fire, you are not to shoot at hostages, and you are not to shoot at enemies who are surrendering to you. So if you break any of these rules, you get a few points deducted from your score, so you want to avoid this as much as possible and focus on the main objectives and carrying them out properly. The reason why this is important is because the way to actually unlock further co-op missions is to have enough of a score to be allowed access to it. So if you don't do too well, you might need to replay some missions, but personally I find it to be alright. You don't have to have too high of scores to be able to progress. In multiplayer, the way you progress is tiers, so you start at tier 10 and you can get to tier 1 the more you play, but it's not a very detailed system and it's not gonna really affect any of your gameplay. And for all the matches that you play, you earn a currency in this game, which is BDT, and with this currency you can buy yourself custom watches. And for these custom watches, I have to say, a lot of them you can get for free by entering creator codes, but some of them you can buy with BDT if you like. In terms of the weapons and other utility items, I find that there is a huge variety of guns to actually choose from, and the utility is pretty cool to use as well. So for example, with the weapons, you have a lot of rifles available, the classic AK, M4, you have submachine guns, you got shotguns, and several handguns as well, including the 5.7 or the Desert Eagle, and you can modify these weapons to your liking. For example, you can choose your optics, you can add lasers, flashlights, and other modifications. There are skins available as well, but most of them, you can only get through DLC, or if you gain a lot of currency in the game, which you can do by playing. Now, I enjoy how the weapons feel. I find that some of them have a bit too much recoil for my liking. In terms of the sound of the weapons, it's really not the best. I think it might have been better in the past, but they changed it, so the sounds are not really anything to write home about, but they are acceptable. Now, in terms of graphics, this game is not as pretty as Ready or Not, and the animations are not as refined as I would like them to be. For example, you are glitching through walls sometimes when you make a reload, or you're handcuffing a hostage in one of the modes. So that's not great, but I think it's alright, and I think the sky can look really pretty, and water, there's a pool on a map. I thought it looked great in the nighttime, so it's okay. I think it usually doesn't get in the way of enjoying the game too much. Now, when it comes to me recommending the game or not in 2025, I personally have to say that I found the co-op campaign, even though I played it mostly by myself, I found it to be enjoyable. I think it brings a few new interesting features to the table, such as the canine, and all around I found the locations to be interesting to look at, and the objectives interesting to tackle. And for multiplayer, unfortunately it is not nearly as populated as it should be, especially for the asking price of the game. So for that, I have to say, you might be able to find 1 or 2 games for Europe or American servers if you're queuing at the right time. Beyond that, unfortunately, there's just not enough players to have an active multiplayer player base. But if the features of this game speak to you and you can see past the jank, such as the issues with the animations and the sound not being too great, I think it is still a worthwhile experience, and you should check it out if the game appeals to you. If you've already played Ready or Not, if you've played 6 Days in Fallujah, if you're a fan of the Rainbow Six series, I think this game might have something for you, and I think you should try it out. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.